I never should have agreed to this arrangement. One fake date with the city's most notorious billionaire, and now I'm trapped in a web of lies that's quickly becoming my reality. The one rule was simple: don't fall in love. But rules were made to be broken, weren't they? If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more captivating tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Now, let's dive deeper into this forbidden romance. Emma Chen stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror of the five-star restaurant, her hands trembling as she gripped the marble countertop. 20 minutes ago, she'd been sitting across from Nathaniel Blackwood, the man whose name dominated business headlines and whose face graced magazine covers. The man who had just proposed their arrangement continue for another month, with benefits. The man whose touch sent electricity through her veins despite every rational thought screaming at her to run. It's just business, she whispered to herself, repeating the mantra that had gotten her into this mess in the first place. 6 weeks ago, Emma had been a struggling event planner with mounting medical bills for her younger sister's treatment. Then came the offer: pretend to date Nathaniel Blackwood to help him secure a crucial business merger with a family-oriented company. The pay was enough to cover Lily's medical expenses for a year. The catch? One ironclad rule: no emotional attachments. Emma splashed cold water on her face, careful not to smudge her makeup. She'd agreed to tonight's dinner thinking it would be their last meeting. The merger had gone through yesterday. But Nathaniel's proposition changed everything. My board believes our relationship has improved company image. Continue for another month, and I'll double your fee. His steel-gray eyes had revealed nothing as he'd said it, sliding a contract across the table with the casual ease of someone offering a napkin. When Emma returned to the table, Nathaniel was on his phone, his sharp profile illuminated by the soft restaurant lighting. At 35, he carried the weight of his empire with practiced ease: tailored suit, perfectly styled dark hair with distinguished silver at the temples, and a perpetual guard around his heart that Emma had begun to recognize all too well. "I'll do it," she said, sliding back into her seat. "But I want to renegotiate terms." His eyebrow arched slightly, the closest thing to surprise she'd ever seen from him. "I'm listening. If we're continuing this arrangement, I need to understand why. The real reason, not the board excuse." Emma surprised herself with her boldness. 6 weeks ago, she would have signed without question, grateful for the opportunity. But something had changed. Nathaniel set his phone down, studying her with an intensity that made her heart race. "You're different from what I expected, Emma Chen." Is that a compliment or a complaint? The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. Neither. An observation. He signaled for the check. "Come with me. If we're renegotiating, let's do it somewhere private." The somewhere private turned out to be his penthouse, a minimalist space of glass and steel 50 stories above the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a tapestry of lights below, a kingdom Nathaniel surveyed with the detachment of someone who had everything yet valued nothing. "The truth," he finally said, pouring 2 glasses of whiskey and handing one to Emma. "My grandfather's will stipulates I must be in a committed relationship to maintain controlling interest in Blackwood Industries. The board members are his old friends, watching me like hawks." Emma accepted the glass but didn't drink. "So I'm just a pawn in your inheritance game? You're a solution to a problem." His voice was matter-of-fact, but something flickered in his eyes. "And you're good at it. Too good, perhaps." "What does that mean?" Nathaniel moved closer, close enough that Emma could smell his expensive cologne. "It means people are convinced. My board. My competitors. Even my sister, who sees through every lie I've ever told." He paused. "Sometimes I almost believe it myself." Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. This was dangerous territory. "The rule still stands," she reminded him, reminded herself. "No emotional attachments." "Of course." He stepped back, mask firmly in place again. Strictly business. But business became increasingly complicated over the following weeks. Public appearances at charity galas. Private dinners with Nathaniel's skeptical sister, Charlotte. A weekend at his beach house where they were photographed walking along the shore, his hand at the small of Emma's back, her laughter caught in a moment that looked genuine because it was. The lines blurred further when Emma's sister Lily was rushed to the hospital after a setback. Emma had called to cancel their appearance at a benefit, only to find Nathaniel at the hospital an hour later, pulling strings to get Lily the specialist she needed. "You didn't have to do this," Emma had whispered in the quiet hospital corridor. "I know." His response was simple, his hand finding hers in the sterile fluorescent light. That night, waiting for news of Lily's condition, Emma learned about the parents Nathaniel had lost in a plane crash when he was 23, thrusting him into running the family empire. She told him about growing up in foster care with Lily after their mother died, about her dreams of starting her own event planning business someday. When Lily stabilized, Nathaniel drove Emma home, walking her to her apartment door in a building that stood in stark contrast to his sleek penthouse. "Thank you," she said, keys in hand, exhaustion making her brave. Not for the specialist or the hospital strings. For staying. Something shifted in his expression, vulnerability breaking through the carefully constructed facade. Before she could analyze it, he leaned down, his lips meeting hers in a kiss that started gentle but quickly deepened with weeks of restrained tension. Emma pulled away first, breathless. "The rule. To hell with the rule." His voice was rough, hands framing her face with unexpected tenderness. But the next morning, Emma woke to a text message, "Last night was a mistake. The rule exists for a reason. Meeting cancelled today." For 3 days, silence. Emma threw herself into caring for Lily, ignoring the ache in her chest that had nothing to do with their arrangement and everything to do with the man who had shown her glimpses of his true self before retreating behind his walls. On the 4th day, Charlotte Blackwood appeared at Emma's door. "My brother," she said without preamble, "is an idiot." Emma blinked in surprise. "I'm sorry. May I come in?" This isn't a conversation for hallways. Inside Emma's modest apartment, Charlotte looked out of place in her designer clothes, but her expression held none of her brother's guardedness. "Nathaniel doesn't let people in," Charlotte said, declining Emma's offer of tea. "Not since our parents died. He took on everything, the company, caring for me, preserving their legacy, and decided feelings were a liability." Emma crossed her arms. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because in 10 years, I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you when he thinks no one is watching." Charlotte's directness was so like her brother's. "And now he's about to throw it all away because he's terrified." "Of what?" "Of the fact that your arrangement has become real for him." Charlotte handed Emma an envelope. "The board meeting is tomorrow. He's going to announce the end of your relationship, claim it was all for show, and accept the consequences with his shares." Emma stared at the envelope. "What's this?" "An invitation to the meeting. Use it or don't." Charlotte headed for the door. "But know this, my brother would rather lose his company than admit he broke his own rule." That night, Emma couldn't sleep, the envelope on her nightstand like a ticking bomb. By morning, she'd made her decision. The Blackwood Industries boardroom fell silent when Emma walked in, all eyes turning to her, none wider than Nathaniel's. He stood at the head of the table, presentation remote in hand, frozen mid-sentence. "Ms. Chen," one of the older board members said. "This is a private meeting." "I'm aware." Emma's voice was steadier than her nerves. "But since you're discussing my relationship with Nathaniel, I thought I should be present." Nathaniel recovered quickly. "Emma, this isn't necessary." "It is." She moved toward him, heart pounding. "You were about to tell them our relationship was fake, weren't you? That you orchestrated it all to satisfy the terms of your grandfather's will?" Murmurs rippled through the room. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "Emma." The thing is, she continued, addressing the board now, it didn't stay fake. Somewhere between the charity galas and the hospital visits and the late-night conversations about our dreams and fears, it became real. She turned back to Nathaniel. At least for me. The silence was deafening. Nathaniel's expression gave nothing away, but Emma saw the slight tremor in his hand as he set down the remote. If you want to end things, end them, she said quietly. But don't lie about what happened between us. Don't diminish it to save your pride or protect yourself from feeling something real for once. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Nathaniel did something none of them expected. He laughed, a genuine sound of relief and wonder that transformed his face. You, he said, shaking his head, are the most frustrating, courageous woman I've ever met. Is that a compliment or a complaint? Emma echoed their earlier conversation, a smile tugging at her lips despite everything. Neither. A fact. He closed the distance between them, uncaring of their audience. I was going to tell them the truth, that I started this arrangement as a business decision and ended up falling in love against my own rule. That I'd rather give up my shares than continue pretending I don't want you in my life permanently. Emma's breath caught. You were? Check the presentation if you don't believe me. His smile was unlike any she'd seen before, open, vulnerable, real. I'm tired of rules that keep me from living, Emma. Especially ones I created. The board meeting was adjourned shortly after, with the chairman, Nathaniel's grandfather's oldest friend, commenting that this was exactly what the old man had hoped for, someone who would challenge Nathaniel to be more than just the CEO of Blackwood Industries. 6 months later, Emma launched her event planning business with Nathaniel's support but her own vision leading the way. Lily's health improved with the continued care of the specialists. And the rule about no emotional attachments was permanently retired, replaced by a promise made on a beach at sunrise, to never let fear dictate their choices again. Sometimes, Nathaniel whispered against Emma's hair as they watched the city lights from his, now their, penthouse. The most valuable business decision is knowing which rules to break. Emma smiled, thinking of the journey from fake arrangement to real love. And sometimes, she replied, a whispered truth is worth more than all the wealth in the world. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more emotional journeys that remind us all that sometimes, breaking the rules we set for ourselves is the only way to find what we truly need. Remember, the walls we build to protect ourselves often keep out the very love we're searching for. Until next time.